Halo 4, we're doing a comparison of, on the left, Xbox Series X, and on the right, Xbox 360. That's right, I dug out the old Xbox 360 again, and I got some footage of Halo 4 in action. So for context, this is the original 360 version there on the right, and on the left, we're playing Halo 4 within Halo the Master Chief Collection on Xbox Series X. That means that is running at a 4K resolution at 120 FPS with HDR support. Now, YouTube doesn't support 120 FPS. I can't record at 120 FPS, so you're getting the maximum it's able to show, which is, again, very smooth, very clear. And I think these two lined up quite nicely. So on the right with the 360, 720p, 30 FPS, and yeah, that's just kind of how it originally ran. It feels quite a bit slower and a little, I don't know if choppy is the right word at times, but it's definitely not as clear, smooth, and awesome as the Series X version is, which is just such a major upgrade. Now, for a 360 title, I have to say Halo 4 is a really impressive technical achievement of that generation. It is. Whatever you think of the game aside, it really did push technology right at the end of that generation. And you can pretty much tell that, like noted in various things you can read and everything like that, that this was going to be a Xbox One launch title apparently. And it's gorgeous. It really is. Out of the games of the Chief Collection, it's just, that one really does genuinely surprise me when you play it running at 4K 120. Every little part of it just is gorgeous. The art style comes alive. It's a beautiful game. So now, when we're doing the side-by-side, and I gotta say, I think I lined these up really, really well here. I was very happy the whole way through. We show campaign, a little bit of Spartan Ops, and then some multiplayer stuff. It all, I think, came together quite well. And these videos are a lot of work doing these side-by-sides, so, liking the video is fantastic. Subscribing is cool too. But yeah, it's a lot more effort. I normally don't specifically, mention that sort of thing, but yeah, it is work to get these things going, but it's a lot of fun and really cool to see the differences. So aside from just the game having a lot more resolution clarity and a lot more fluidity to it, another big thing I've noticed is the world isn't as blurry. So if you're kind of looking at certain cutscene moments and certain segments when you're moving through the environment, you'll notice that some things are really blurred out, whereas on the Series X version, it's really just all clear. Every part of it, it's just, you can see all of the little details around it, and I hope, you kind of get that coming across too, details-wise, watching it in this way. It's just, there's so much more clarity in, the characters and the containers, and the lighting is done. It just really comes alive, the lighting and the comparison between the two, especially when you look at, Cortana and stuff like that. It's really quite amazing what they were able to do with that. And even then, again, Halo 4 is actually quite impressive on 360. It really was. And I liked that one. I thought the story was great. I enjoyed the multiplayer, especially once they kind of, patch things up and change things around. I actually really long-term love Halo 4's multiplayer. I find it very interesting. So, yeah. Definitely an interesting period of Halo history, and I know not everyone will agree to any degree, but it was a really well done game. I thought it did a lot for pushing the story forward and kind of giving a lot more humanity to the Master Chief. I should also mention that for context, the audio is from the Series X version, so on the left side that is where the audio from the video is coming from. Just in case you are wondering when this is being shown, it just sounds a lot better coming from the Series X. Anyways, it's really, really quite interesting. So it might seem like we're just doing the first level, but that's not the case. We're just showing off kind of the opening because it's a lot easier to kind of match up, and also because a good chunk of my progression was missing for whatever reason on Halo 4. I had the first couple levels, and then the last levels, and I was just like, what is going on here? It's so strange. And then, yeah, just what it is, right? And he's climbing and stuff. It's also a lot more cinematically driven, this portion, than a lot of the other levels where it's more gameplay. This one's really just kind of setting up, Chief's awake, what's going on here, what are we dealing with, and then it kind of just, goes into it from there. Which, again, is good for comparisons, I have to say. Really quite pleased about how this one is just kind of showing. Now, another big thing that I'm noticing is the detail in the gun really, really comes alive on the Series X version. And on top of that, like also the helmet, some of the smaller things in the environment, the lighting just seems to be significantly improved in regards to how it kind of comes alive, really, is the big thing there. It just seems so much more like lit up in smaller little details and ways, if that makes sense. Although again, 360, pretty good for its age, you know, I gotta say that. But playing the game at 120 FPS is just, it's absolutely unreal. It's such an upgrade to the overall experience of what Halo is. Okay, so now we're jumping to the last level of the game. I love playing this part. Sometimes I'll go and I'll just play Halo 4 and do this like one part of the level here because it's so epically tuned to the music and what's going on and the stakes of play. It's also really gorgeous. I kind of wish I would have panned more upwards towards the Earth, because it shows like a good location of Earth up above here. But basically, you know, it just would have made it a little bit harder to match up, whereas here you get the full smooth presentation of this long distance here, and you really feel like you're in a large scale environment, which I thought was really interesting, is that you feel as though you're in this massive space. Technically, it's actually quite interesting. And then you're jumping between the three areas doing combat. Well, the music's kind of blaring, and I always like to time it to see if I could finish this off before the music ends, which is not an easy task. And I also noticed that just like shadows and stuff seem to be a little bit more, well, set on the Series X version as well. And it's really quite impressive just how good this game is in terms of like the visual aesthetic, the design of it, and just how well it holds up even, you know, against generations later of hardware. It's really quite neat.
I've got to do something you're not going to like.
It also seems like the colors are a little bit more vibrant too. You know, you look on Cortana, you look at the orange in the background. It just seems to pop a little bit more.
What did you just do?
I ejected my rampant personality spikes into the system. If I do that in each of those beams, the copies can overwhelm the composer's shielding. Get ready!
And obviously for combative sequences, it's not going to be lined up perfectly. And we couldn't show loading for this one because the systems and how they're done between the two games is really non-comparable. Obviously the Series X a lot quicker for loading segments, but the 360 version kind of loads it in the menu, if that makes it. Like, it's very different in how loading is handled between the two versions. So here is the Spartan Ops. So these were small story segments that were like really quick, multiplayer focused for co-op. I wasn't hugely into them. I did them all, but I was like, I don't know. I think it was a neat concept, maybe a little bit ahead of its time in terms of being something that was free content to keep you playing the game. You know, a lot of the stuff we have now, free seasonal content and stuff to keep you engaged. This was kind of a precursor to that almost, if you think about it. Again, but I think the idea is interesting, maybe doing smaller little pockets of Halo lore stories while using the same game concept with different characters. I think there's a lot of potential for that there, and I think Halo Infinite might dive into that eventually when it comes to how the story progresses there. So now we're on to the multiplayer maps. I picked a few that I thought really showed a big difference. Obviously, grass, how the grass is presented here is massively different, and a lot of like the little things that like load in and how you look and like how the environment looks actually is quite a bit different from the multiplayer, at least from what I noticed. I was actually quite surprised because I remember the experience, you know, just from playing years of MCC at this point. That's just how I know of these Halo games right now. But then looking back, it's like, okay, these maps a little bit different, you know, just in terms of how some of the details come alive. Haven is just gorgeous, like with the clouds and stuff. Beautiful, beautiful map. Seriously, just one of the stunners. It's so cool and different, and the lights and everything just seem to come alive a little bit more. Like I mentioned earlier for campaign, but for this particular area, it just seems hauntingly a little bit better set. And I thought that was interesting. Another cool thing is the unlimited sprint, so that's easy to line up, and then the guns, right? So just different gun skins too. And I have to show this map off because I feel like this is a very underappreciated map in this game. It's gorgeous. Like, the backdrop here is just insanely beautiful. And then on top of that, the level itself is actually kind of cool. Sort of reminds me of that one Halo 3, I think Longshore is the map. Kind of similar vibes. And finally, what might be the most gorgeous map in Halo 4. I think this is Monolith. Just beautiful. Not only in terms of the lighting and the colors, but you look at the backdrop, and you're probably not going to see a whole lot of it because I'm trying to match these up here, but the backdrop is stunning. Just stunning. Like, it's so lovely to look in. I was like, wow. And it's a good map too. It's just really balanced quite well for movement and combat. And of course, gotta get this one in here, right? Can't do it without Ragnarok, aka Valhalla, am I right? But yeah, this one also you see a little bit more of the grass detail come alive, as you know, in general, so that's kind of cool. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this look at a comparison for Halo 4, and I will be doing additional titles in the future. It just, again, takes a lot of time to put these together, and of course a little bit of vehicle action. I try to mix up what I'm showing, you know, make it easier on myself, but also present a variety of different scenes and scenarios that you can take in just for the best comparisons possible. And I hope you enjoyed.